is vectors. And this is a topic that you'll see a lot in higher. And it's actually quite a nice vector, a nice topic to revisit towards the end of the course, because it really starts to let us think about moving on into doing higher maths. Okay, so really what we need to now do is distinguish between what is a vector and what is a scalar quantity. Okay, first of all, a vector is just a line. Okay, it's a line that has two components. It tells us the size of the distance we're traveling, which is a fancy name would be given as the magnitudes, and also the direction in which you go. Okay, so for example, if I was to say that a vector has got size and direction, so for example, Glasgow is 7 miles east of Paisley, the size is the 7 miles and the direction is east of Paisley. That's different to what we call a scalar quantity, where I would just say that Glasgow is 7 miles from Paisley. It's just telling me the size, but not the direction. So a scalar quantity gives us the size, a vector quantity gives us the size and the direction. Okay? So the line joining the origin to the point A, which is 3, 4, can be described as this line here, vector A. Okay? So if I want to get to the coordinate 3, 4, I go along 3 in the x-axis and then up 4 in the y-axis, and that, what we call the directed line segment here, we call vector A. Okay? So if you ever want to travel from one coordinate to the other, coordinates are always given by moving along the x and then up or down the y. To travel to that coordinate, it's just the direct journey going from start to finish. Okay? So if we travel 3 along and 4 up, I can say that we have the vector 3, 4. So when we have vectors, then we always call the first number the x value and the second number the y value. Okay? So if we have a positive x value, it means that we're going left. It means we're going right. If I have a negative x value, it means I'm going left. If I have a positive y value, I'm going up the way. And if I have a negative y value, I'm going down the way. Okay? Note that if I want to look at this vector here, I'm calling vector A, I can also call it vector OA. And that's what this bit here in the top grey box is called, because I'm going from O to A. If I want to travel from A to O, I'm going in the opposite direction. So I would travel 3 along the x-axis back to here, and then 4 down the y-axis back to the origin. So it would just have the negative of those coordinates. So let's take a look at example 1 then. When it says state the components, it just means write it here as a vector. So let's look at the first vector here. We'll call this vector AB. Okay? So this vector here can be made by going along the way and then up the way. Now vectors always have these arrows in them. The arrows tell you the way the direction is going, and you must always follow the arrows. So if I want to go from A to B, I can say that my vector AB, count the boxes, I'm going 4 along and then 2 up. So that's going to be the vector 4, 2. If I look at the vector CD, I'm going from C. I'm first of all going along the way, along to the left, and then I'm going up the way. So I'm going 1 to the left, and I'm going 4 in height. So I can say that the vector CD is going to be -1, because I'm going to the negative side of the x-axis, but then I'm going up the way, so it'd be 4. So we get -1, 4. If I want to look at vector x here, vector x, if I'm starting here and then I'm going 3 boxes along, then all on the journey I'm just doing is just going to be -3. I'm not going up the way, so that would just be minus 3, 0. And then vector W, to get vector W, start from the tail of the vector. We always go tail to nose. So the tail of the vector, follow the line. So we're going 2, 3, 4, 5 along. And then we're going 3 down. So I can say that vector W is going to be the vector 5. Because I'm going down the way, it'd be 5, negative 3. Okay? So really think of it in terms of the coordinate axis. If you have the coordinate axis, coordinates in the first quadrant here are positive, positive. Coordinates in this quadrant here are negative, positive. Coordinates in this quadrant here are negative, negative. And coordinates in this quadrant here are positive, negative. Okay? So just follow the vectors there. It tells you which quadrant that you go to. So that lets us go on and start drawing vectors. So if I want to draw a vector, this one here I'm calling vector u. Vector u has got components 4, 3. So that means I'm going to go 4 in the x-axis and 3 in the y-axis. So I'm going 4 to the right and then 3 up the way. So start anywhere you want. Make sure you leave yourself enough room. So if I start here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 along, and then 1, 2, 3 up. And then all I do is just draw my directed line segment from here to here. So that will be the vector u. Okay. Looking at vector v has components 5, negative 5. So that's 5 in the x direction and negative 5 in the y direction. So again, make sure you leave yourself enough room. So I will start here. I'll go 5 to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 down the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just draw that vector in. So it always goes from where you start to where you finish. And make sure you put your arrow and the name of your vector. So this vector is called vector v. If it has a single letter, then you put a line under it. If it has 2 letters, then you put a line with an arrow above it. Okay? Let's look at part C now. Vector PQ is the vector negative 4, 8. Let me just write that down. So I'm going 4 in the x direction, the negative x direction, and then 8 up the way. So I'm probably going to start down here. So if I go 4 in the negative x direction, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go 8 in the positive y direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that vector is going to look something like this. Okay, so that vector is going from P to Q. And the last one, vector D. Vectors is vector RS, and it's got components negative 3, negative 6. So RS is negative 3, negative 6. So I'm going to go 3 in the negative x direction and then 6 in the negative y direction. So I'll start over here and we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that vector is going to look something like this. So it goes from R to S. And that is naming and drawing vectors.